Hi, are you part of the 10% of women who struggle with this syndrome that affects your menstrual cycles, your fertility? Maybe you're even growing facial hair that you don't want, or you're thinning on top, like male pattern baldness. You struggle with acne. Um, it's hard for you to lose weight. Any of those things. Those are all symptoms of polycystic ovarian syndrome, or PCOS, and it affects up to 10% of women, and even a higher percentage of women in the childbearing age. So, that 20 to 50-year-old range, it's a big deal. In fact, I am talking about that this week because it just so happens this is the way it works, is people will come in like, I'll get a whole bunch of the same thing at once and get some of the same questions as I'm processing through this with my clients. And I've just had a lot of questions about that, and people come in who've already been diagnosed with this, or that's what we suspect is going on. When they give me their history and we run some labs and we look at what's going on, we figure out that's the root cause of their problem, is they've got this. And so you know so yeah, what it feels like are all the things that I mentioned before. It is the number one reason that people have fertility issues that are anovulatory, because what happens when you have polycystic ovarian syndrome is that a lot of times you just don't ovulate in a given month. So what happens is your cycle's all wonky and messed up. So unfortunately, the medical answer to this in a lot of cases is to just prescribe hormonal birth control, because what that does is anytime you go on the birth control pill, it just takes away your natural cycle and replaces it with a fake cycle, if you will. You take the 3 weeks of active hormonal pills and then the 1 week of the basically sugar or placebo pills, and you have this what's called withdrawal bleeding. It's not really a menstrual cycle as it would be defined. It is a withdrawal bleeding of, you stop taking those hormones, and so your body goes through a bleeding process. So that's a quick and easy way to quote unquote fix this problem. The issue that I have with that is that there's no analysis done that asks why is this happening in the first place. And unfortunately, because polycystic ovarian syndrome is in a lot of cases tied with endometriosis, and a condition where a woman is dominant in estrogen, and it's all this teeter-totter of estrogen, progesterone. The balance needs to be right, and a lot of women live in this state where their estrogen levels are high relative to progesterone, and so that raises their risk of estrogen-driven cancers, things like ovarian cancer and breast cancer. And it's not a situation where you would want to introduce extra hormones like are what are found in the birth control pills, especially the ones with estrogen. So I like to ask a little different set of questions when someone comes to me that's already been diagnosed, or we figure that out through our testing and our work together. I like to first of all ask, what's the driver? And many times, 50 to 75% of the time, to be exact, it's a blood sugar. This is very much linked to your ability to handle insulin. So if a woman is becoming insulin resistant, and they're in a pre-diabetic state where their blood sugar is elevated, and they're consuming high carbohydrate, high sugar foods and foods like that, and their insulin is not well managed, that makes the problem worse. So we always look at what they're eating and what they're doing, what their lifestyle is, so that we can address that. Because as we mentioned before, resistant weight loss, or an inability to lose weight, is tied up in PCOS. And so we want to make sure we're figuring out the root cause. Stress plays into this a ton too, because the stress hormones affect insulin levels. So sometimes it's not just as simple as, oh, well, you need to cut out carbs. And I see a lot of women that are doing the right things, and their blood sugar still isn't being well managed. There's kind of two people. There's people that aren't doing the right things, and they just need to learn what those right things are and start doing them. But then it's really frustrating when women they've been on a keto diet, a really low carbohydrate diet, and they're still not moving the needle with this. And it's because their body's in this constant state of stress. Their cortisol or stress hormone levels are greatly elevated. It's almost impossible to lose weight when you're in a high cortisol state. So one of the tests that I love to pair with a hormone test is a stress index for that reason exactly. So many times women will tell me, I'm not stressed out, I don't feel stressed out at all, and we run a stress index on them and their cortisol levels are off the chart. So although they don't feel under stress, their body is telling them a different story. And until we manage that and bring the cortisol down, we can't make progress on the other things. So that's just another piece of that puzzle. So if you have been diagnosed with this and you want to do some things at home, what are the things you can do? You can make sure you're managing your blood sugar, and that looks like a low carbohydrate diet. So I don't necessarily think you need to go as drastic as something like the keto diet, but I always recommend people take their carbs to 25% of their calories a day or less. So for most women, that's somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 grams of carbohydrate or less. The less you can do, the better, but that's kind of, most people can do that and maintain it for a lifestyle. Um, a lot of people can maintain keto for a lifestyle too, but just as a general rule, I say 25% of your daily calories coming from carbohydrate, and that will feel low compared to most American diets are 60 to 80% carbohydrate, just like an average standard American diet. So you're gonna make huge progress. Exercise, again, because this is a lot of times related to blood sugar handling, exercise is one of the really good ways that you can help regulate blood sugar and bring your levels down. So make sure you're exercising about 30 minutes most days of the week. And then manage your stress levels. We talk about that all the time. And the other biggie too is making sure that your beauty care and your personal care items, things like makeups, shower gels, shampoos, body lotions, that kind of stuff, isn't full of endocrine disruptors. Is the big fancy way to say chemicals that mess up your hormones. So, if you're slathering on this cotton candy smelling lotion and it's full of something called parabens, phthalates, there's a whole bunch of nasty things that are in those, and that can really drive you into that state again where we're talking about women being estrogen dominant or estrogen heavy, and that's just a disaster. So I always recommend people use the Environmental Working Group as a resource to run their personal care items through that database, so they can check and see, am I using things that are good, or should I clean that up a little bit? So anyway, those are sort of the basic things that you can do to help. And if you've tried those things, or you've been diagnosed and you're down that road and you want a solution that is more natural and looking for the root cause, then reach out to someone like myself, a functional medicine doctor, and get some analysis done. Have the labs run on your blood sugar handling. It's more to it than just glucose. There's a number of things that we look at to get a well-rounded picture. Have a hormone panel. The gold standard with hormone panel testing is a Dutch test, and I love that test. I pair it with a stress index, and there's a lot of pieces that go into this. And so we try to look at the whole picture and the whole person. So we're not just saying, why is your cycle messed up? We're saying, what is going on, and how do we really make you healthier as a whole person? So anyway, I hope you found that useful. That at 1 out of every 10 women, that's millions and millions of women that are dealing with this. So I hope you're not one of them, but if you are, there's some stuff you can do that might help you. Okay, thanks for watching.